This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everybody. I'm going to say this word because she said this word to me, and it's what we're going to talk about today. And I have so many different pictures of this word in my mind and how important this word is. And I think we forget about what this word means. Details. It's all in the details. She is an author, a professional storyteller. Yes, she's driven by details, especially historical facts. She has a knack for retaining this information, but it comes back to one thing, the details. And many of us sometimes forget about those details. So let's dig in with her today. So much to talk about with our professional of the year, Carolyn Marshall Stearns, on the program. How are you doing today?
I'm good. We got warm sunshine coming in this window instead of a cold draft. It's much improved.
Oh, my dear, you are a state away from where I am. So we're in the Northeast, the frozen tundra. And last weekend, just a few days ago, it was 5 degrees here. I'm sure it was colder there. Wind chill below minus 20. My pipes didn't freeze. Yesterday, it's at the freezing mark. The pipes froze. What the heck's going on there?
They probably started the week before.
Probably right. And then maybe in a void in the wall with missing that piece of insulation, the wind was blowing just right, and then bam. That's just crazy. Yeah. But feels good. I never thought I'd say, 29 degrees. That feels fantastic.
Take the coat off.
Take the coat off, right. So you are, I have to believe, in your craft as a professional storyteller and an author of many great books, focused on the details. It's in your DNA, or you developed that knack for extracting the details. How do you feel about that?
I think that it's what I've seen over time in response mostly to my oral storytelling, and it's transferred into my writing, that people come back to me and say, I could see that place. I felt I was there. I felt that emotion. It's because of the details. You can just say he was scared and it's flat, and it needs more. How scared? Just ooh, scary. Or was it teeth chattering, prickles on your skin, hair raising, scary, can't breathe? There's just so many ways to describe it. You need to give people enough to put them in the place, whether it's an oral story or a written story. They need to feel they are within it and experiencing it themselves to have it have that effect on them.
So I'm using now, the rest of us, the majority of us, are professional storytellers or authors. So I'm using this as a guide for life in general. And I feel, and maybe it's because of what I do, that I extract the details. I don't even know I'm doing it, but I enjoy it. I've in my latter years here, I pilot by facts. That's it. Facts are facts. They are what they are. Are details facts?
They are, even when they're fiction. They're facts of that story. So, and for some people, the line between fiction and reality is very blurred. So, and we see that. We see that all the time, and how things are covered and related to us. But I tune into the details, because if I can get the details right, I know they will carry the story. And I found a quote when I was looking for social media content, and it's from Georges St. Pierre, and it says, when you pay attention to the detail, the big picture will take care of itself. And that's just how it works in my books.
Say that again. I want all of us to fully process that.
When you pay attention to detail, the big picture will take care of itself.
So I'm going to share this, because things happen for a reason. But this is not just random. In the last 2 years, I found myself using this word all the time, and others are using it too. But I I don't want to say demand, but I request this one thing: clarity. In all situations, when people are telling something, they're like, can we get clarity on that? Just laser it in and just get to it. The important details. And it's not like I'm a stickler for details, but we forget how important it is. Like we get caught up in the minutia of other things, and is clarity details.
It is. I mean, if the details aren't clear, people don't have the right picture to work with. And that's when things go awry. So whether it's in production of a podcast or a radio show or writing or social media or even in our personal lives, if we don't take care of those things and express them clearly, and get that detail right, then there's going to be a misled receiver out there.
Is there a way that we can better pay attention to the details, like get in that mindset over a period of time where, somebody tells you something and your brain automatically is like, all right, 35%, blah, 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 make a left here. You're automatically processing the details. You're making the details a priority. Is there a way that we can train our mind to do that?
I think we need to slow down. America's got their foot on the gas all the time.
Fair enough.
And I just think we are racing from one thing to another and not finishing the details on the first before we pursue the second. I have several book projects waiting in the wings. I know I cannot start them. I am itching to start them. Nothing like a fresh project. I have Core, the other novel, to get out in the next month or two. I have got to pay attention to the detail of this project, finish it to that point that it's out there. Then I can start spending a little bit of my mental power on these upcoming projects that are calling to me. But I am refusing to touch them because it'll take away from the project I'm currently trying to give my best to.
But you want to touch them, don't you?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
It's killing me.
Yeah. Because I got to believe as a creative person, you are like pushing for it. Like I want to do it because I'm on it now. I got the passion. But then the previous project isn't going to get the attention. And you told us a little while back that you were working on the book cover. You were meeting with your artist, etc. How does that come along?
The art is done.
Oh, cool.
Finishing tweaks on the back and front matter, bibliography. I have questions in the back of this book to start discussions with. My dedication, that kind of stuff is just tweaking, finishing up those things, and then off it goes. So the content has been edited and is done, and I'm going to panic until I get a first copy and go through it with a fine-tooth comb. I did get one book back all the way to that first print test copy, and I'm reading it again for the umpteen millionth time. And I read along and it mentions Sarah. And I'm like, who the hell is Sarah? There's no Sarah in this book. Absolute full-on panic. And I quick open the manuscript and do a word search for Sarah. It was the only time it was in there. I called my editor and I said, open the page of this and read the third paragraph. And he reads it and he goes, what? And I'm like, read it again. And he read it again. And he goes, who is Sarah?
My gosh.
And I'm like, how did we all, ARC readers, that's advanced readers, my editor, and then I have another one who goes through looking for errors, who's really meticulous. Everybody missed this. We're talking like 10, 20 people reading it, and some of us many, many times. And I said, how? It just absolutely scares me. How did that happen? He said, because the details before it, we knew who it was. Those were Anna's details. We knew it was Anna. Your mind just says, oh no, this is Anna. Keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All in the details.
A natural error, if you will, that we were kind of lost in the book. I would imagine. I was like, yeah, I know who we're talking about, Sarah, Anna, whoever. So I'm going to ask you this question, and this is personal in real time. I'm going to a function tomorrow, and it's kind of a roast for some friends. And long story short, I'll laser this down. They're doing this engagement party production. They're also performers, music people, things like that. And they figured, let's do something different on Valentine's Day. I'm ordained, have been for years, to marry people. So they've wanted me to marry them. However, they've been engaged for quite some time. And it's almost like a running joke that they're still not married. There was going to be, let's go to Vegas, let's go upstate. So I'm like, I'm ready to go, guys. So it's kind of a running joke. So I'm going to deliver just a little quick monologue. And I want it to be funny and kind of roasty, with a little fun here and there. That's not what I do. I'm not a comedian. I just don't do that. And I have a couple of things I've written down, and I'm not going to read them, but I want to commit them to memory. What's your advice to making sure I don't forget some of these points? Is it thinking of just in my mind, or even, I could have on my back of my hand just keywords, Vegas, so I don't forget to say it, whatever it might be, whatever those words are. Yeah. Would that be helpful? I mean, you tell stories. I'm kind of telling a story to everybody that doesn't know the full journey of them getting engaged, but never getting married, but almost going to get married, but they didn't get married. What are your thoughts?
I do that, breaking even a very long production down into 10 words, because it really allows you to, this is a key word for the whole next section.
Yes.
Like you said, Vegas, that's going to take you all the way through Vegas. And then whatever the next upstate New York, boom. And so all you need is upstate, because you all know it's New York.
And you know what? Truth be told here, I can just fabricate it too. But Vegas is the reminder to talk about locations. Because I've even joked before, I did a video with them to promote this show. And I was like, yeah, then we're going to go to Dubai. And that didn't happen. And then we're going to, I'm making it up for fun. And it's all in fun. It's a roast. But if I write Vegas, that would be my reminder to just pump out some locations. Vegas was real, by the way. But just to, throw some other ones in there. Some just obscure. Key West. Then we're going to, they told me about Key West, and then they pulled the plug on that one. I was just about to book the tickets, that kind of thing. So you're saying 10 words. Would you put them in sequential order, like word number 1, word number 2, down?
I do, but it doesn't mean it has to stick to that either.
Oh, of course not.
Because you want that fluid comfort. And
just a reminder, right?
Yeah, you'll get some cues from their faces and their reactions. And then you know whether to up the ante on a certain section or back off of it. And, I do an hour performance at the holiday time, and I have that down to like 7 to 10 words to just make sure I don't miss baseball, because it's the one thing I've known I've missed.
Yeah. And that's the other part of it too. Walking away from it after it's done and you're like, oh, I should have said, that was a great line, whatever. And what's cool too? We're so used to seeing people hold their phones. I'm not reading this, but I could just even, as I'm holding I'm waiting for a call. Just look at my phone. It's like baseball. Yeah. And the time we went to the baseball game and we thought they were going to be on the Jumbotron. They were going to get married at that moment. That never happened. Whatever it is. What I got from you in the details today, Carolyn, you said it before and I have to remember it. Go slow. It gives you a chance to collect your thoughts, but also you are doing a service to the audience because they can collect the thoughts and hear what you're saying, as opposed to talking really fast and then mentioning all these things and then you're out of breath. Then they can't process.
Give them time to soak it in, and you can put those pauses in, and you'll see as an audience get tense because they're trying to hear it all.
Yeah.
And that's when you just, take a moment, wipe your brow, or point to someone and laugh, or, just take a little second to give them that time to process a little. But
if you need the second, maybe you're at a point where it's like, all right, I was supposed to say something, and what was it? You could even look at the audience and say, you know what I'm talking about? You get it, right? Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, baseball. And about the baseball game.
And the other thing is, if you have that break in your thought process, take a deep breath because the oxygen frees up your brain to work more fluidly.
Mm,
So get a big breath in, and often your breathing, if they see you breathe and relaxed, they will too.
point.
Though I do see
Mm.
that with kids all the time. If they're too wound, I take that moment to, there, now we're ready to listen. And they will all respond with a breath.
There's so much you can do within that we all forget about because this is not what we do. But I think of like you that idea. You could be at that point where, okay, the next part we need to really get ready for. So everybody take a deep breath. You're just making it up.
Yep. And then hold on, folks, because we haven't seen the epic part yet, you know?
Right.
I'd love to share a quote from one of my books that really highlights detail.
Please.
So this is How Far is Safe, and this is an 1890 historical fiction story of a boy and a donkey looking for a safe farm. Dusk came and went. The crickets sang, birds hushed. The sun left and the moon rose. In the dark yard, the donkey stood, his head lowered. His breath from the velvet muzzle flowed softly over the neck and face of his boy. They stayed that way a long, long time. As the cooler night air surrounded the pair, the boy stirred.
Conjures up a picture, that's for sure.
Details. And to absolutely put people in that yard with that boy and donkey and in that experience, you have to paint that picture. Think of your words like brushstrokes, and you'll know when you have enough. And, you know, some people like a very clean, crisp writing, and I think that's very businesslike. But when you're trying to tell a heartfelt story, those brushstrokes and details are what pull the reader or the listener in.
And what's not going to do it is Chat GPT.
Yeah.
Because in my experience, there's a place for it. You know, it can be a starting point, things like that. It's going to add fluffy extra words that may seem like details, but it's really not because it can't feel emotion. It can't see it the way a human will see and hear it. And that's why we need to think about those details and let them come from within.
Yeah, I don't go there at all to Chat GPT. I don't want anything to do with it because I think the real power is the creativity of the human mind. And
Yep.
I don't think any machine will ever master. And it doesn't speak agriculture at all.
Well,
it really doesn't.
There's something else I think at play here, and it's got a little woo, but everything is energy. It's been proven scientifically many times. Everything, energy is always in movement. You know, this pen has an energetic vibration. You do, I do. Everything is different in its vibration. And I believe that when you create something like a story, you're putting an energetic vibration into it with those words. And that's why people pick up on it and it resonates with them. I don't believe it's just words. I think there's a little bit more in that. And ChatGPT is not putting that energy into it. You know, why are some works of art more popular than others? Why are certain artists, like we can name them from, you know, hundreds of 1,000 years ago? There's millions of great artists out there. I believe it was a certain energy that was put into it that resonated and stood the test of time.
And each artist has their following because that art speaks to them.
Picks up on their energy. People pick up on their energy. Yeah.
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 They feel it. And you can walk by, you know, somebody will walk by a Van Gogh and go, no, not for me.
Yeah.
And they'll see a Rubin and go, oh, yeah, he gets it.
Yep.
It's very personal.
But I believe there's an element of energy in there. It's not just, well, you know, I don't like abstracts. That's just not my thing. That may be your preference, but when you do pick the abstract artist of choice, why that one? Why not this one? Why not that one over there? They could be equally as talented. There's something there. I'll just say that. There's something there. And I think that something is the energy imprint.
Yeah, I think all creators put their own stamp on that, on
Mm-hmm.
their work. And I know that people say that, they can tell it's one of my books when they read a passage or a quote from it because it has that same feeling.
Yeah. Mm.
And I think that I work toward that, and I work for that voice to be real to me. And if people actually know me, then they will know that's my work and they will hear me in it.
Have you always, Carolyn, been a stickler for details?
I think though that comes and goes in phases in life. And I think when we're very young, we are very energized for all kinds of stuff. But I think personal details, people, places, and things, I really have always fine-tuned. That's why my first paid job at 14 was a museum docent. I got it. I got the old stuff and I got the people coming to see it.
Wow.
It's a very rare teenager that can do that, but I grew up immersed in 18th century history, so I already had all that background. Is what I considered common knowledge at the time and didn't know how rare it actually was.
Mm. Well, it seems like you had an affinity for the details from the beginning. Wow. I just want to get better at it. To retain little pieces. If somebody tells you something, be it a paragraph story, whatever it is, just to train the brain to say, grab that one, grab that one.
If you can transpose it into pictures and colors, it
Mm,
depends on how your brain processes,
good point.
but things are, often if you can build that picture in your mind and you'll retain that image you've built, which will bring you back the details.
Mm. Even if it's a fact like 38% of blah, 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 just seeing 3/8 in your mind, a picture. And again, we're all wired differently. Many of us are visually motivated. Some of us aren't. We just don't see pictures. That's just the way it is. I got to imagine
Some
you see
people need
pictures.
color. I see all the pictures. And when I'm storytelling, I'm often asked by kids, especially, how do you do that? How do you remember all that? I said, well, for one thing, I don't have to tell it the same way every time. I told the same stories in 5 classes Tuesday in first grade, and each one was a little different because it's not a book, it's not in print, it's free flowing.
Hmm.
And it was different. And I noted it at the time. I'm like, well, that's a fun way to enter that part of it. And so I just tweaking it. And it was in response to the group I was with. But I feel like I'm just telling the movie in my head.
Do you feel that you need to know your subject? So, here's a pen. I'm going to talk about this pen. I would need to know about it. This pen is a Flair. They've been around for 50 years plus. I have a preference for the ones that don't have the little white thing at the tip because I think the ink flows better. Little things like that. I could talk about this pen for a while just because I know the pen and the history and
Spend a lot of time with it.
and the affinity and how it makes me feel when it writes as opposed to a ballpoint pen. It's a Flair marker. Do you feel that you got to really know your subject? You don't need to know the story. You just need to know the details about, I don't know the story of this pen. I can make one up based on the facts about it or my affinity for it. Those are the details. Do you feel that that's the key point here, knowing your subject?
I think, yeah. And trying to experience it as others might and to
Mm,
feel what comes from that experience for other people.
wow. Yeah.
But you have to give people enough to work with to feel it. If they've never been near a donkey, they're not going to understand the donkey's way of being is different than the horse. And so I have to give them that information. And then they can start to build their own imagery and understanding.
You really, it's a great point that you bring up there, because, you could deliver the story of the frozen lake, and that story for first graders could be radically different than the telling of that story for 50-year-olds, whatever it is. The basis of it, a frozen lake, is the same, things that transpired, but you're going to use different words and tell it in a different way. So I guess it comes down to know your audience.
I do that all the time. I take the same story and I can tell it in first grade and at a historical society for all adults. I shift it up and down with what details I'm sharing and what emotions that I want to evoke from that age group. A mixed audience is the most challenging, finding the safe, comfortable middle ground.
I
got one more quote, or are we running out of time?
We're running out of time, but I want to hear the quote. Absolutely.
This one is from my collection of spooky stories, 13 spooky stories. And it's about a lake that people hear music bubbling up out of the water.
I just said, I mentioned a lake before and it was random.
Yep.
Wow.
And I chose these in advance. I went and sat at this lake through dusk to get the feel of it. All at once, the boat bucked, and a large wave propelled them up and forward. They both gasped, then grabbed the gunwales of the boat and hung on. Jerry felt the hair on the back of his neck tingle. Frank held his breath, his senses on high alert. The wave propelling them then dropped off, and they eased to a stop. So these are fishermen out on this lake, and they're going to experience hearing that music come up because a house sunk to the bottom of the lake with a grand piano in it, and the ghost lady comes back to play her piano.
So I don't know what a gun wall is on a boat.
Oh, it's the side rails.
But I don't need to know.
Yeah.
I don't need to know.
He was just hanging on.
Hanging on to something, and I could feel the hanging on to something, but that little passage went from relatively calm to something really major going on here, back down to, all right, we're in a good place now. And it's amazing how that was done in 22 seconds. Wow.
So, take people for a ride.
and instead of saying the hair on the back of his neck stood up, the hair on the back of his neck tingled right away. That's, that word adds so much to it. I get in detail. Wow.
Yeah.
Super cool. Thank you for this today. Learned a lot, and I'll be using your advice tomorrow at 7 p.m.
Good luck with that.
Thank you. I'm good with it. I just need to. I feel disorganized with the details, and I need to just get a little more detailed. And again, I only have talked for like 2 minutes, but I wanted to be like that passage in 22 seconds. I want people to get something from it. How do we find you? You have so many amazing books. You're available for storytelling in the Northeast, I'll say. How do we find you?
My website, Carolyn Stearns, storyteller.com. My books are on Amazon. You can come find me. Look for How Far Is Safe or Mystic Girl, and you'll find the whole collection there.
Wonderful. Thank you for today, and we'll catch up soon.
You have a great weekend.
You too.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.